So I was just saying in Italian for those who don't understand my Italian, especially, that I was just saying, welcome, I'm Simon, this is Morgan, and we collaborate on this wonderful program, and special welcome to Cecilia, who's given us this evening. That's all I got to say, because now Morgan's show, who will run the whole evening. Over to you, Morgan.
Perfect. I think I had to turn it on here, right?
That should be on.
Yeah. Okay. Buonasera a tutti. Good evening. Thank you so much for coming. I'm really pleased to start up the Lungarno Chats again. The idea was to have an informal evening where we have interesting and inspiring people that really add to the cultural and vibrant landscape that is in Florence. So we changed the format a little bit tonight. So I'm super excited to have our speaker and interviewee, Assessore Del Re, who recently was one of the architects of the urban plan, and we'll dive into it among many other areas of competencies. After that, we'll have a brief spotlight on a local startup, and you understand the connection and why this startup was chosen after my introduction. And then very excited to have Riccardo Lamy from Palazzo Strozzi to talk about one piece that you'll probably maybe already have seen all around town, but it'll be featured in the next show at Palazzo Strozzi, which is also one of the fantastic institutions here. So I'd like to start just with a brief introduction of things that I've seen that I find interesting, and hopefully you will too. So first of all, I'd like to go this way. We'll go there. Here we go. Thanks, Simon, very much for hosting us and for the wonderful work that happens here at the British Institute. Is really, the schedule is very impressive, very diverse, and really adds to the richness of the city. So I came across this infographic on the growth rate in the world just last week. And what struck me about it is there's, for all we've heard about a pending recession, we actually have pretty strong growth rates. And on our average, the global growth rate is expected to be 2.9% next year. And I thought that was a bit contrasting to all the news we've been getting about layoffs. This is particularly in Silicon Valley, but if you look a little bit deeper, I found this site called layoffs.fyi that shows you in real time all the layoffs, and you will see what's interesting is it's not just Silicon Valley, elsewhere in the United States, but also Israel, Brazil, Paris. There seems to be a consistency in this layoffs, but it's not really supported by lack from economic growth. And I came across this memo from Sundar Pichai, the CEO of Google, unfortunately announcing the layoff of 12,000 people. And there was something in the memo that really stuck out. And it was, we hired for a different economic reality than the one we face today. And I was trying to figure out exactly what reality he was talking about, but he did mention that they're confident about an opportunity ahead of us. And you may well figure out what that is. And it's on the cover of Time magazine this week, and that is obviously AI. And what's interesting is, we've gone through three major industrial revolutions. The first, the agricultural revolution. The second is the industrial revolution. The information one, which I felt we were still in, but we are evolving out of. And now we've been thrusted into the fourth generation very fast. And that's really spearheaded or launched by the combination of big data, cloud computing, and now artificial intelligence. And things are happening very fast. You might have seen Microsoft invested $10 billion in OpenAI, the company that's just launched ChatGPT. And they've quickly integrated into their browser. So they're already taking an advantage within a couple of weeks to say, not only to have access to it, you have to sign up and join the wait list. And by the way, if you want to go up the wait list, make sure you change and get off all of Google products, and we'll push you up the list. And Google has the biggest to lose because Alphabet, the parent company, has 86% of all internet searches. And I think it's about $162 billion at risk on search. They are moving fast. So they just spent $300 million on one startup called Anthropic. And I went on Anthropic's site just to look at what kind of jobs they had. And here's a low-level engineering job, and the starting salary is $250,000 to $335,000 a year. Obviously, you need to have familiarity with machine learning. But if you look at the requirements, it says at least the basic programming and QA skills of Python. So you can see, like, it's not just that they're laying off people because there's no demand. They're actually, this is a major reset in the DNA of these companies. Many of you might remember Craigslist. This was 1995. Craigslist was the first aggregator of sort of all things internet. And it was just classify that. And it took about 10 years to span a whole ecosystem. And each one of these blocks became billion-dollar industries. So how fast is this happening? If you look at the bottom, ChatGPT took 5 days to get to 1 million users, took Instagram 75 days and Spotify 150 days. And already now there's a whole ecosystem of companies built on top of AI. So not only is this bigger, but the speed is exponentially faster than the information age technology. It's so fast that now there are programs that will detect if you've used AI, and it's a cat and mouse. There's another program that will paraphrase so that it won't get detected. And where are we? So right now, this shows how much data, they're called parameters, is in GPT-3 is what we have right now. But in this year, they're expecting GPT-4. Now, the sample data size is not the only indicator of how well these models work, but is one of the main factors. Of course, the big issue is jobs and displacement. So let's see. Okay, well, the side underneath is 85 million jobs are expected to change. And the big difference now is obviously it's not just blue collar jobs, but AI. So obviously anything that has complexity now, AI is able to solve problems that we weren't able to solve before. So I'm just going to switch here, and I thought I'd give you a quick demo. Okay, so this is ChatGPT. I actually signed up for the paid version because every time I tried to log back in, they said there was a wait list. So here's an example. Sorry if there are any typos. So basically, I'm asking for a joke on the British Institute in Florence. So it says, why did the British Institute in Florence decide to start offering language classes in Italian? Because they wanted to understand what everyone in the city was saying about them. So I'm just going to say, can you do better? Here we go. Another. Okay. So then I wanted to see if this could help me. And, everyone's worried, thinks it's other people's jobs. So, I have a passion for interviewing people. So I thought, what are good questions to ask about urban planning? So I came up with my own questions too, but I thought, like, wow, this is actually, maybe next time you won't see me here. You'll just see a droid that will ask better questions at me. And okay, and so You can ask anything. I put in, ask for, if you're, today we're at lunch, my sister's going to the south of France. Give me an itinerary in the south of France. I want to see something about Picasso day by day. You can say, tell me things off the beaten path. But then I did ask this, can you, tell me about his, wait. Sorry, my typing is awful. So since we're going to talk about Maurizio Cattelan later, I thought, let's see what it could come about it. And this is where I think is interesting. He actually, I think Riccardo might tell us, I think this is wrong because it's not about Julius Caesar, right? It's a self-portrait. So he's going off the rails now.
Morgan, we can't read it.
Okay, I'll read it out for you. So basically, he's saying it's about a depiction of Julius Caesar. So I said, and he's telling you all about information where it's been exhibited. And I say, well, listen, it's a self-portrait with a typo. And he says, actually, you're correct. It's a self-portrait. So he believes that it's incorrect and tries to correct itself. Anyway, I'll stop here, but I really encourage you to play around with it because I think you'll understand the full complexity of this. Whether it's law firm or medical field, it's being integrated. One of the major law firms just did a major investment and requiring all the lawyers to use it because you can imagine law where it's very important to find a precedence in cases. Now you have these tools at your disposal that can quickly give you all sorts of precedences. So back. Great. So with that, I'm super excited to invite Assessore Del Re up, and please welcome Cecilia.
Buonasera a tutte e tutti. Good evening to everybody. And thanks for this invitation.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming. I thought before we actually jump into the plan, it's very refreshing to see a young woman have such a stellar career here. Can you just tell us a little bit about yourself? You grew up in Oltrarno, is that right? So you grew up in the city?
Yes, I was born in 1982. I can say that. I am 40 years old. And in Florence, in Porta Romana, so in Oltrarno. And I am a lawyer. I studied here at the University of Florence, but I am also an exchange student, an Erasmus student. I studied at Leicester for 1 semester in United Kingdom, and also 1 semester at Georgetown University. And then in 2014, I decided to candidate myself inside the Democrat Party when the Mayor Dario Nardella was, of course, the candidate in order to be the mayor. So he decided to run to be the mayor of the city. And so in that moment, I decided to run for being part of the city council. And then in 2017, the Mayor Nardella asked me to be part of the government. So to be one of his deputy mayor. And so I was the deputy mayor for economic activities between 2017 and 2019. And now I am the deputy mayor for urban planning, innovation, smart city, and recovery plan.
Fantastic. So did you always know that you wanted to go into public service?
No.
Or you thought you were going to be a lawyer?
No. It has been a big surprise. And I'm very happy, of this path. since, as I told you, I'm a lawyer. My father is a lawyer and my sister is a lawyer, and so I thought to be a lawyer for all my life. And I mean, I enjoyed my job, and sometimes I miss my job. But I have to say that my education helped me so much now in this role. And so, I mean, I am part of the Democrat Party since it was founded in 2007. But I haven't been active in the party since suddenly the Democrat Party in 2014, as I said, decided also to open the list to new faces. And so a friend of mine asked me, why don't you come and join us in this run? And so I said, why not? Because I love my city, and I felt also, I mean, the will to do something for my city, so for the public administration. And I had an education also in public law, so I could actively do something for the city and for the administration. So I said yes. And from that point, everything ran very fast.
And did it turn out to be what you expected?
I didn't have any expectation. I enjoyed this role day by day. Maybe I didn't think it was so heavy. I mean, I like so much what I'm doing, but of course, I do this from the morning till the evening. And I mean, if you do this in a very right way, I mean, you know, anyway, it's a surprise every day. So you didn't get bored, never.
And so your current role, how it's very broad, but there seems to be a connection, it seemed, between the different competencies. And I was just curious how those are assigned, and how what is the rationale behind it? And is it because so much of technology now, of innovation, spans these different areas? Can you touch a little bit about that? Because when I was, looking at all your areas, from smart city to PNR to urban to technology to innovation, I mean, there's really a lot. Is there a connected thread between those?
Yes. First of all, you have to study hard. That's also an interesting part of this job. Of course, for every job, you have always to study and study. And so for every, subject that I followed, of course, I started to study and to listen. And what now we are doing, even if you can think that the themes, the subjects are different, there are, of course, some common points. The ecological transition, the digital transition, and the inclusion. So, for example, for the digital transition, I made the new digital program for the economic activities in 2017, when I was the Deputy Major for Economic Activities. And then I made the new digital program for the green fields, for the environment program. And we also won a recognition thanks to a project that is called Dona un albero, since we allowed citizens, to donate a tree to the cities and to dedicate the tree to a person who is loved by the citizens. So the Presidente Mattarella gave us an award for this project that has been possible thanks to the digital program that we made. And then now we are experimenting with architects and other technicians the digital program for the urban planning. So for all the, all the edilizia constructions, so construction project. So, that's really an important part, since the digitalization and the innovation allows to the public administration to be faster, more efficient, and to give answers to the citizens in a more also sustainable ways, because we could save the time of citizens if we are, more efficient in giving answer. So that's a good point for all the subjects that we are now following, also for other projects. And of course, the ecological transition. You can find this in every part, in every project that we are carrying on. So, for example, of course, in the green fields, but also in the construction, also for the photovoltaic systems, also in the digital programs, for example, like in the smart irrigation. So thanks to some digital instruments, you can save water. So you can understand how the digital instruments can help us in the achieving of sustainable goals, also of the Agenda 2020.
So you recently, published this structural plan and operational plan. And the way I understand it, the structural plan is more the vision.
Yes.
And the operational plan is actually the laws that are required.
Right. You studied.
Yeah. It was very interesting. And I was just wondering, how often does it happen? And can you, because I saw it, part of it went back to 2021. Can you just walk us through the process to get to where you are today? What happened? And well, let's start there.
Okay. Yes. So the structural plan contains the vision of the cities, and it's different between the operational plans, since the operational plans contains the rules that transform the cities in the next 5 years. So we will approve definitely the plans at the end of this year. So it will last until 2028, right? Yes. Instead, the structural plan has no deadline. So you can update the structural plan. The last structural plan had been made in 2020.
And so it's meant to be longer.
Yes, longer.
Right.
Yes.
And what is the goal, I guess, of this? Is it because obviously what we all say is livable city, sustainable city, but that can be so many different things. So what was the goal at the beginning, the desired outcome of this plan?
As you said, we started this job in 2020, at the beginning of 2020. So before the pandemic. I think I was here before, right? And we made a discussion about these themes, and I told you about what we were about to do. And first of all, this participatory process called Firenze Prossima. So we listened to the wishes and to the needs of the citizens and stakeholders in the cities in order to build and to write the operational plan with the citizens. And it has been very interesting and also hard work, since at the beginning we couldn't meet. So we had to meet online, and this has been also an innovation, because we could reach so many people, maybe more people than in an ordinary process. And we won also an award. We won an award in Grenoble. We received last December. Just also for this innovation, and also because thanks to the design of the process, we could anticipate some themes, some objectives that then are now rules. So, for example, we mapped the cities in quarters, so in rioni. So we wanted to build some quarters with all the services in order to have a 15-minute cities walking distance. That's was the aim, and so we also wrote the operational plan thinking to this. And we saw that also other, private stakeholder started to think about Firenze Prossima and about the dimension of the quarter instead of the district. And that was very useful in order, to have a common cultural and a common aim. And then during the process, we, of course, listened to the needs of citizens to leave their cities and to have spaces for themselves. So, of course, the tourism team is a big issue in the city, because we have to find a balance between residents and touristic flows. That's the challenge of our cities, and of course it's the challenge of the main touristic cities of the European countries. So we tried in the new operational plan to make some choices that go in these directions. So, for example, we blocked new openings of hotels. We tried to limit the number of apartments that you can do, dividing the apartments, and other rules that try to avoid the use of apartments for touristic aims. So we don't have, unfortunately, still have, unfortunately, a national law that allows us to regulate this sector. But we hope that it will arrive.
And what were obviously with Florence and given its rich cultural heritage, what were the biggest trade-offs that you struggled with, like balancing the economic need for growth versus the sustainability and the livability of a city?
There are many challenges. For example, now, but maybe you heard about that, we are making just in the new operational plan, the new rules for the installation of the photovoltaic systems. And this is a big issue because we would like to allow citizens to present a project to the local authorities for cultural heritage, and except for the city center. But the city center is just 5 kilometers out of 105 kilometers. So it's really a small place, a small part. So we found, an opposition in the local authorities for cultural ages, since they didn't want to allow citizens to present a project in the areas of Castello, where there are the Medici villas. So it's a big part because it's the buffer zone of the UNESCO areas. So now we are, trying to find a balance with the local authorities in order to allow citizens to present a project, and then the local authorities can reject or say to the citizen how can improve the project and so on. So we are discussing, but the issue is to find a balance between a cultural and historical context, of course, and the innovation that can help us to save our landscape. Because according to the jurisprudence of the Supreme Court, Italian Supreme Court, if you invest in the photovoltaic system, this allows us to preserve our countryside, our green areas, because if you don't invert your habits, otherwise, we will have the desert. That's really witty, and so the Supreme Court, I think now finally has the correct, vision. We have to work with the local authorities.
Going back to the tourism, I think I've seen some things where involved to try to bring the tourists also to broader Florence, not just the same, three main museums and the same roads. Can you just touch on that? Like there's such richness in the city that's really untapped.
Yes, in the last years, we tried and we work in order to make and to support project in order to promote a less known Florence, La Firenze Insolita. So we made many projects around outside the city center and around our city, but also in the metropolitan area, since our vision and has to be, not just limited to the city of Florence, but to a broader area that is called La Grande Firenze, so the metropolitan areas. And for this reason, we made an agreement with other 17 cities of the metropolitan areas in order to share the instruments and the promotion, and also our offices, and also the website called Feel Florence, where you can find on Feel Florence all the projects we made in order to promote new point of interest, new museums, or museum, of course, that are here, but not so well known as the others. And then we also use the technologies in order to drive the touristic flows, thanks to the Wi-Fi relevation, in order to know exactly how many people there are in a small area of the city, like the city center, and to suggest to the tourists other itineraries, other point of interest. So that's a very interesting project, but maybe Michael later will tell you more.
So that's a very good point. So that ties into the smart city, I'm assuming. The use of data to help drive better services, among other things. At what point are we of being a smart city? Are we there yet, or what point are we at? And if you can just maybe elaborate on what it means to be a smart city.
Okay, so according to the last Forum PA result, Florence is the smartest, the most digital city of Italy. So yes, we overcome Milano.
Congratulations, that's amazing.
Yes, we are very proud about that, also because when you think about innovation or digital transformation, you always think about Milan. And Milan has been the most digital for many years, but then in the last 2 years we won, so we were very happy about that. And we will be also the first city of Italy to have the first smart city control room. We are working on the room that will be next to Stazione Leopolda. And we are working, of course, on the software, program, in order to share data and information between the administration, the local public administration, and the public societies who give public services. Because even if these societies like Publiacqua, Alia, Autolinee Toscane, they, of course, are part of the city, we don't know their data. So it's like if we are different, but the citizen, can imagine that. So we are trying and we are working in order to work all together in order to have just one vision and to be faster in the answer. In order to intervene in a shorter time, and also to predict our choices. If you know how the city moves, you can make better choice.
And so I'm assuming traffic will be one of these.
Yes.
Mobility. It sounds so obvious, right, to connect all the system, but it's obviously very complicated. Is it hard for the city to find the necessary talent at a city level to be able to integrate these systems? Obviously it's very complex.
Yes, it's not so easy, but I think Florence is a good place where you can innovate, since we tried to put in a network all the incubators, schools, universities where you can study and you can, cultivate your ideas and transform your ideas in enterprises. So we have this network called makenextinflorence.org is the website where you can find the map. And we have many interesting projects. So, for example, we have a startup called KeyMap, and they made accessible itineraries along Florence so that a person with difficulties can know how to visit our cities without facing meeting barriers. Or another startup made a project in order to detect, to find plastic materials in the River Arno and to collect the plastic materials. And so this helps us, of course, in order to preserve our river and our water. So you can see how innovation can help us in the achieving of sustainable goals. But what we are doing just in the next weeks is to match the public societies with these incubators, because, for example, Alia made a project in order to open the bins with the mobile phone. So you will see this project. Maybe some of you has already the key in order to open the bins, but then you will open the bins also by the mobile phone. So we are working on this. But we found out that they asked to a startup in Venice to work on this project. So we said, but we have so many startups in Florence, but so we don't want to be local. But of course, if we are a team, we can be innovative and we can help our startuppers to stay in Florence, to work in Florence.
I saw that you spent a lot of time and did a lot of work around innovation in the city. And how mature, or where are we with the ecosystem? Because I know you partnered with a school, right? There's a Scienze Aziendali, right? Le Murate, and where are we? Because it seems that there are a lot of pieces are there. It's just not clear how integrated and virtuous, I guess, the ecosystem is.
Yes, we made this ecosystem, what I was saying before, and we map. And then we are trying to work together in order to specialize this incubator in different teams. So, for example, Murate Zea Park sometimes is focused on fashion or environment. Impact Hub is focused on social impact. Nana Bianca, all digital, project, and so on. So, or university more on chemical and project. So related to sanitary process. So we are trying to specialize all these incubators and then to work together. Of course, we have to do more and more.
I wanted to touch on the recovery fund, the PNRR. How much is earmarked for Florence? Is it already a set amount? And where are those funds going? And have they started arriving yet?
Okay, so I think we made a great job on the recovery plan, because we applied every day to a candidature. And so this gave us great result. You can follow on the website of the public administration. And as you can see, I don't know if you have the slide.
Try to get the slide up.
Okay, but no, it doesn't. In the operational plan, we have 180 projects of transformation, and 130 projects are public transformation. And this thanks to European funds. and it has never happened. I mean, it was half and half, or even more private than public transformation, because we haven't seen so many public funds. So in the last years, you know that in this operational plan, we have 130 public transformation thanks to the European funds. And so we, can make the difference, because of course, we will build new tramways, we will build new cycle paths, we will build new parks. I think that one of the most important projects of the new operational plan is the new Parco Florencia. I don't know if you have ever heard about that. Is the parco that will be localized after the Cascine, at the beginning of Parco dell'Argingrosso. We are in the Quartiere 4, and it will be where now there is, a discarica. Yes, where there was the Campo Rom del Poderaccio, and then we will build passerella, un ponte.
Yeah, pedestrian bridge?
Exactly, a pedestrian bridge, in order to go to Quartiere 5, Piagge, where there will be another green areas. So it will be the second biggest park after Cascine, and we will dedicate this park to the theme of the environment and climate change. We will be a new museum dedicated to the theme issue of water and climate change in the Parco Florencia. And then we are working in order to have other 4 museums in other part of the city in order to delocalize the touristic flows. So if we bring attractions outside the city center, we can help what we were saying before in order to decongestionate the city center and try to valorize, to let grow other part of the city. So, of course, we are working for the new stadium where we will have a new museum, sport museums, because all the Campo di Marte areas has a vocation, an identity related to the sport, of course. In the Quartiere 3, we will have the Museum of the Resistance Museum. It will start from there. Quartiere 4, the museum dedicated to the climate change, and Quartiere 5 in Viale Guidoni, we will have a new museum dedicated to the industrial history of the city and to the new technologies. Also because we have there Becker Hughes and Nuovo Pignone, so that's the identity of that part of the city.
So these funds that are coming, they're all based on the merit of projects that have been submitted and then approved.
Yes.
Fantastic. So, and what is the time frame of receiving those funds?
We are still receiving. We are receiving some funds, and other we will receive. Other we don't know if our candidation, was successful. So we are waiting. But what we know, of course, is that every project have to be completed by the end of 2026. So in a very short time, and the stadium included, of course.
So,
and one of the main issue now that we have in the city, but you know that, of course, is the issue about the student public housing. Since, of course, we are trying to build a city that is not just a touristic city. I said before that we made some rules in order to block the use of the private and public spaces for tourists. But it's not enough. I mean, we want to be the city of knowledge, of the education, because we have so many schools and universities in our cities. So we want to be that kind of city. Also because, as David Sassoli always said, Florence is a city of the world. It's a city who belongs to everybody, not just ours. So students who come from all over the world to study here are welcome. Of course, are welcome our students of the University of Florence, but they are having, both of them, so many problems in finding an apartment, of course, to a reasonable cost, that what we have to do is to build new public housing for students. And so in the operational plan, we have this in Viale Guidoni, San Salvi, Caserma Santa Maria Novella. And we applied to a PNRR ban, to the recovery plan candidation. So we don't still know if these funds will arrive, but we hope so.
So is this the biggest investment that Florence will have ever received?
I think so, yes.
So it's a real opportunity.
Yes, it's a real opportunity, even because in the last years, all the public administration, since they didn't have public funds, started to sell their belongings, so their properties, and this is really a pity. I mean, because sometimes I see something that it was of the public administration and it was sold, and we have also some example near here. We all know about Costa San Giorgio and so on, but the public administration needed money for their balance. Now we want to buy, and we need to buy properties in order also to answer to citizens' needs, students' needs, and so on.
Just a couple more questions, then we'll open up for what has been the biggest challenge so far in your political career, and I guess what you're most proud of?
Good question. So the biggest challenge is just this, to protect the identity of the city. So when I was the deputy mayor for economic activities, we made the UNESCO regulation. We have been the fourth city of our country to do this, and we blocked new openings of restaurants and so on. And we have been also the first city to make the regulation in order to preserve the historical shops, the historical artisans. And so the first regulation succeed because, of course, many restaurants, many enterprises complained about that because they wanted to open new restaurants, bar, mini markets in Florence, but fortunately the Supreme Court said that the regulation was fine, so we succeed. And the other regulation is yet under, I mean, we have to wait in order to know what the Supreme Court will say about that. And maybe we will have the answer in a short time. But the balance between the preservation and the society that change, it's really hard. I mean, it's a big challenge, but I think we can do it. If we, of course, have also a government and European directive that help us. And so the second question.
What you're most proud of? Biggest accomplishment?
Oh, there are many things. I think that what I was telling you before is one of the most important projects that I made, even because, I mean, other cities then made the same. But the other part, important part of my job so far is the part of the participation. So all the Firenze Prossima participatory process was really important in order to listen the city and in order to understand the city and then to make the better choice. And in fact, we are working in order to have the urban center of the city in Novoli, where there was the Ciminiera Fiat. I don't know if you, okay. And now you can see that there are the construction in order to open this place next year, because it will be that place where innovation and participatory process will be permanently in the city, because otherwise you don't know what it's happening in the city. So to have a place where citizens can go in order to know the transformation of the city or what's going on, it's really important, because otherwise, it can risk to create a separation between the public administration and the citizens. So that's another project that I feel that I will follow again.
That sounds fantastic. So last question is, what advice would you have to any young people that want to make a difference, maybe want to go into public service? What would you suggest they do? Recommend it?
First of all, to study, because it's really important to take decision as well as to listen to people. So that's really, these are two important points. And then to never give up, because even most of all, if you are a woman a young woman in politics, because sometimes it's difficult because it's still a patriarchal world. So in Italy, most of all, if you are active, so you do many things. And most of all, if you are maybe at the last election, you have taken many votes. So in this case, you start to be a treat for the male world. So, and so the suggestion is to never give up, to do what you like to do, what you think that it's right to do, and to enjoy your job, because this allows you to give your best. So just be yourself.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. As you pointed out, it is hard to understand all that is going on, and there's really a lot once you start looking. So to have more opportunities like this to really understand, and then if someone wants to dig more, they know where to look. So, but it's very encouraging that there's so much investment in education, innovation, higher learning, green. So again, thank you again for coming.
Thank you so much.
So just switching gears, I'd like to introduce Mario Puccione, who is a local entrepreneur and startup E. I will just get your slides up.
Okay.
Okay, great.
Oh, it's not working.
We'll see.
No. Okay. So we will skip so fast. Okay, so good evening, ladies and gentlemen. So my name is Mario Puccioni. I'm the CEO of Binocle, CEO and founder of Binocle. That is a startup that is settled down 200 meters close to here in Nana Bianca. So what we are talking about tonight, it's a kind of piece of gala of artificial intelligence tonight. So I didn't know. And so basically, no. Mi sa che... Ah, ok, scusa. So basically, what we work through, I mean, which is the mission of our startup. So I am a psychoanalyst and a neuroscientist, and I decided in 2018 to go over this adventure in entrepreneur experience. And so basically, where we work is these three major fields. And as you can imagine, artificial intelligence is just a simulation of functions of our brain. So specifically, this is our team, and we have, as you see, expertise in different areas. So in mind-brain science and in AI. And those two things are the branch of development that we work through every day. So those two parts divided two specific main challenge in artificial intelligence. So on the left side, you have computer vision, and on the right side, you see NLP, that is natural language processing. It means so we build different kind of models on different functions. So on this side, we simulate vision. So we simulate the function of seeing. On the other side, we simulate language and thought. Those are the major field where we applied, and those are the name of our two projects. So let's talk about Cone. Cone is basically a system that do three things. So detect event, in this case are images, collect data, and activate everything that could be useful in a business to become an automation. We apply in different fields, as you see, and here you see three different layers of our technologies. It means that the IoT can be like very similar to our organic, to our organ of see. So it's like cameras, it's similar to our eyes. Then artificial intelligence, it's kind of a mimic of our experience. So we are able, since we are little, to understand what is a cat, this is a chair, and stuff like that. And now we teach to our machine to do the same thing. And last of all, blockchain, that is, we use blockchain to certificate secure data in different kind of business. Here you see some of our models. We have built many models, but here you see some example. So as you see, something in nature, something in motion, people, object, spaces, and stuff like that. So the major place where we have bring Cone is in construction right now. And the major problem that we wanted to help too, it's safety. So today we are able to detect how workers are dressed and how and if they dress in the right way for their safety. Here you see what happened if you apply and install our camera inside a factory environment. Then other models, so the other algorithm give us the opportunity, to here we go. So here you can see how we can understand action. And in this case, we don't want to see if people work or not work, but we want to see that people is safe. For example, we can trigger if a person is laying down without moving. It means that there is some high risk. And then for sure, another kind of model of algorithm that we have built is the distance between interaction between machine and people. I go faster. So here you see a simulation of what happened if this blue part is triggered, has a risk area, And so you can understand without seeing, I mean, with machine working through, if a person is going to a high level of risk. And so it gives alarms, it gives data. It means to improve the management of construction environment drastically. The other solution that I present tonight is a natural language processing solution. And here you see a short video. So basically, Mirror is a solution that we want. Here you see in the version for construction, but right now we are bringing to corporation, so to big company and corporate. So here you see Mirror, that is a solution that can detect your mental state and your physical state by the use of vocal. So in this case, people can use our app, record an audio, answer to the first question, that is, how are you feeling mentally, for example, and then how are you feeling physically, and get back information, very accurate information about mental state and physical state. And then, for example, as you see, the app detects a problem on the back pain of the worker, and then the app suggests where to go, for example, for a consultation, a doctor consultation. So why we are going over corporate? Because there is a big problem right now all around the world, especially US, Europe, Italy, of attrition, of burnout, of stress. People are not happy in the environment of work. So all the big company needs to find solution, and we need to find solution to help workers and company to find a better well-being. So in this case, we have built a solution that is divided in two. On one side is for a worker, on the other side is for the company. So what we do with the workers? With the workers, we can ask them to use vocal daily, so they can record what do they think about themselves, about their perception of themselves, and they receive real-time data, so they will understand something about their status. We can record why they feel like that, so we can trigger anxiety, stress, depression, many other features. And then what we thought that it was very important to give people information. So if we detect, for example, a person that one morning feel like stressed, we can give information centrated over the topic of stress to let them understand better what is going on. Then we understood that to change our behavior and our state, it's very important to keep action. So we can use action to change our behavior, but moreover to change our state. So the solution provides different kind of suggestion for the mental state and the physical state that the person is perceiving. In this case, in the last case, for example, if a person has anxiety, you can imagine we can suggest yoga, we can suggest to follow a course of mindfulness or whatever other things go through. For companies, so many of you for sure will ask themselves how we can manage those very specific and important data about healthcare with the company. So we use blockchain technology, and we are able to give to companies data that are not individual data, that will be anonymous, but a company can have data about a team. So it can be a solution to manage team in a different ways. And so moreover, the company has the possibility to suggest new activity and to involve their teams in different activity that can improve their well-being. So that's it, and thank you so much. And
Thank you so much, Morgan.
And first of all, it's great to see innovation in Florence, and Mario's part of Nana Bianca, which is an incredible incubation and accelerator hub and co-working just down the road. I encourage everyone to go because it's really remarkable. Again, we have these jewels in the city, and I think not enough people know about it. Switching gears, I'd love to invite up Riccardo Lamy from Palazzo Strozzi.
Oh, wow. How can I? Okay. So good evening, everyone, and thanks, of course, to Morgan and to the British Institute for the invitation being here and part of this amazing talk. And of course, it's after the amazing interview also with Mario, but also with Cecilia, it's tough for act to follow, as you say. No, so I will try to give you. Today with Morgan, we said, okay, let's tease everyone, let's say, about the new show that we're going to have in the Strozzi, the Palazzo Strozzi. But first of all, let me just introduce who we are for the ones that probably, I don't know if everyone knows here Palazzo Strozzi, but talking about an idea of a contemporary Florence. And the question that you raised with Cecilia and the contents that with Cecilia, we worked a lot during this last year as Palazzo Strozzi as part of this system for a greater and bigger idea of Florence as something that is not only part of, that it's not based only on the idea of an heritage or a legacy, but it's a sort of a platform for something new and something that Florence deserves. No, there is excellency and being contemporary as this city can be in a way. And Palazzo Strozzi, as everyone knows, probably is one of the symbols of the past. No, is a symbol of the history of Florence, of the Renaissance. But at the same time, with the work of our foundation starting back in 2007, we believe that this palazzo could be a platform for something new. And so for a foundation that every year creates a lot of different activities, not only the exhibitions, but every exhibition for us is a sort of a box, let's say, is a sort of a platform, a stage for creating something that is just much more than just a display of artworks. There is an occasion for meeting, there is an occasion for exchange, there is an occasion for innovation and research. And thanks to our director, these are our supporters and partners, the main ones that is the city, the public sector, but also the private sector, because it's because of the alliance between the public and the private sector that in a cultural foundation like us, we can make really the difference in a way for the city, also with different kind of stakeholders and energies coming from different sectors. But thanks to just to briefly introduce who we are, I use this image because then to remember what happened during the last 7 years, because this highway installation that happened in the facade of Palazzo Strozzi was probably one of the most striking images that probably all the tourists, and especially also a lot of Florentine resident people had in their phones, because it was a punch in their face in a way for a lot of people. We had a demonstration in front of the palazzo. We had people screaming out, "Oh my God, you're destroying the city. You're destroying a symbol of the history," for something like that was a temporary installation, if you like it or not. That nothing, the palazzo will be there, has been there in the last 600 years, will be there for 1,000 years more. So we believe that, and our director, Arturo Galanzino, this was the first show that Arturo curated at the Strozzi. As an old master curator, he arrived in the Strozzi and said, okay, let's do Highway. For us, we were shocked. And but with Arturo and the work that we do together with Arturo is the idea that it's not about the contents, the artists. It's not only about the contents, let's say. It's about how you play with these contents and how you let the contemporary artists, all the old master, to play with the city, with the palazzo, and become an exchange between the past, the present, and the future. So during these last years, you have seen at Palazzo Strozzi Highway, you have seen great old master show like the Cinquecento in Florence. You have seen during the pandemic JR on our facade. You have seen one of the most awarded show ever. Donatello has been, just received the Apollo Award for the best show of the year. I'm sorry, but for the Brits to give us, to go in London and to receive defeating the National Gallery was a great thing. I'm sorry. And, but even Donatello, Donatello is the perfect example of what we do. It's not just about displaying stuff, okay? or displaying old stuff or new stuff. Artworks can only be something important today as in the past if they mean something for the present. And Donatello was the perfect example of that. Such a revolutionary artist, such an inspirational figure, such a driving force still today for a lot of artists, that show still for us is an inspirational show, exhibition to reflect even when we do contemporary art show, okay? And just to mention, just because, we were talking about AI and, last summer, we also had a show about NFT art and crypto art, and we had the Refik Anadol. Now is at the MoMA, for example, the show, this installation. With Refik, we worked with the machine learning. This work, just to remember that, when Refik Anadol, the author of this work, that it was this huge 10-meter high monitor with this bubble effect of different images. All these images were coming from a co-production, as Refik was saying, between him and the machine. It was him feeding the machine with different database of images, and the machine was converting all these images in an aesthetic output. So is this idea that new technologies also in the terms of the artistic field can be something that is not just the media, let's say, there can be also something about the authorship that is also very challenging, but also interesting. And just as a teaser today for the upcoming show that we're opening next week, from the 4th of March, we're opening this show called Reaching for the Stars. It's going to be a very, very, let's say, self-explanatory show of what I was telling before. It's a show that will display in the Palazzo Strozzi, in all the levels of the Palazzo, through the courtyard and the Piano Nobile and our basement, the Strozzina, some of the most famous artists of the last decade, from Maurizio Cattelan we're talking about, Damien Hirst, Cindy Sherman, Sarah Lucas. We mapped the show geographically, let's say, and we cover all the continents basically through the show, through the different artists that we are going to exhibit in the show. And so will be really a platform for reflecting about what art can be now in terms of the debate that art can raise. Socially, in terms of gender, in terms of generally speaking about society, and also in terms of the new possibility of materials and techniques that artists are developing and using nowadays. Today with Morgan, I'm sorry, I'm talking too fast probably, but I just wanted to tease you with one work that is going to be part of the show, one of the 80 works. So this is just one, okay, of the show, but it's very peculiar. And I wanted to talk today about this because it's been created by an artist that also is part of our promotional campaign of the show that, as you can see here in the posters that we will see, that you will probably seen around the city. You have already seen this big face. That is not Julius Caesar. There is not Julius Caesar, but it's a Maurizio Cattelan work with Maurizio Cattelan himself. Okay, the title of this work is La Rivoluzione Siamo Noi, We Are the Revolution, 2000. Just to introduce yourself very quickly for the ones that maybe doesn't know who Maurizio Cattelan is. Maurizio Cattelan is probably the most well-known Italian artist in the world during the last 20 years, because of the production of artworks that has been really challenging in not only for the inner, let's say, piccolo mondo, little world of contemporary art, but also because they challenge the news and has been very, very popular in the public debate. And Maurizio, as you can see here the little face down there. This is another work of Maurizio. Maurizio, during the last, now it's a career of more than 30 years, has been constantly worked on himself as a representation of himself too, and the self-portraits of him are part of his work a lot. Specifically, Maurizio's work is a work that talks about symbols, images, political content, social content, unpredictable images that you cannot expect, images that we don't even want to, that we associate so strongly. For example, you can see him. The title of this work is Him. Okay. A little Hitler that you can think it's in the size of a baby. I put it just 2 images here just to make you understand. This is not part of the show, okay? But just to give you an idea of what Maurizio Cattelan is, if you see this work in an exhibition somewhere else, you will see him like a little baby praying. Okay. Maurizio liked to play with something that we didn't want to talk about, and we don't want to think about, like something to compare, something that is for us unspeakable, the evil itself, Nazism, Hitler image, to something that is the innocence, no? The idea of kind little baby. When you visit the shown like that, you don't see the face of Hitler immediately. You are faced with the back, so you don't immediately realize that. And this is something, I go back, I'm sorry. Oh, sorry. Okay. I go back to the image from our show. This is something similar of what will happen when you will see this piece in our show. This piece is made of this sort of a little mannequin of Maurizio himself, representing himself as a hanged from this clothes, how do you say cloth rack? No, clothes hanger, clothes rack, or clothes rack. He's dressed in a felt suit, and this hanger is totally metallic. You see, nothing very shiny, or I don't know. It's not something so colorful or anything else. His face, I go back to the our poster to let you see, will look at you in this very provocative way, very intriguing way. It's a very realistic, okay, doll. It's a real doll, because it's big like that. You will see that. The title, La rivoluzione siamo noi. Maurizio Cattelan is famous because of his contradictory and very provocative topic. I don't know if you've heard of him when he sticked a banana on a wall with just a tape, and this was sold at Frizz LA for millions of dollars, stuff like that. You know, this also big provocation in the market, no? At the same time, I wanted to talk about this work, because this work shows you and proves you that Maurizio Cattelan work is not just about, let's say, silly provocations, okay? It's not at all a superficial artist. A work like this can be read, can be seen on different levels, let's say exploring different layers of meanings of this work. The title, We Are the Revolution, there is this man, this little doll with a felt suit with this metallic hanger. If we go to see better this metallic hanger, I just put it next to you, something that is similar to that, is not that, but reminds us of what is the style of this hanger. The style of this hanger is the typical Bauhaus style of Marcel Breuer. Marcel Breuer, everyone probably knows this chair, probably, and is the style of the so-called super famous style, iconic 20s, 30s idea of social art and social idea of design. Marcel Breuer at the Bauhaus was a teacher and a master of what art could be in terms of going against any kind of decoration, and to rethink a joining between the function and the aesthetic of an artwork. And so a revolutionary idea in this sense. The Rivoluzione siamo noi, the revolution, the title of Cattelan, is a reference to the Bauhaus inspiration. Maurizio Cattelan is addressing in his work this topic. Just let me give you other elements and then I go back. The other big reference layer of meaning inside of this work is another reference. If the hanger is a reference to the Bauhaus style, to Marcel Breuer, the suit and the title are actually literal references to one of the probably most famous hero of contemporary art, of art of the 20th century. There is German artist Joseph Beuys. Joseph Beuys has based his career on a motto that is the Revolution sind wir. We are in German, we are the revolution. We as artists, we joining together, we can change the world. And part of the work of Joseph Beuys, that I don't want to get you bored too much, but just to give you an idea of what it was work about, was also to play with this idea of the suit, and specifically with the felt. And a lot of installation, I give you an example of installation by Joseph Beuys for giving you the idea of the felt, okay? So the felt, the suit, and the reference to the Bauhaus word, altogether in this, I'm sorry, I go back to our face. Okay. All together with a work where there is actually a doll of an artist that is like a cappotto, put it on your guardaroba, no? Something like that. What Maurizio is doing here is a very sophisticated, let's say, commentary on the problematic status of being an artist today. And the value of what may I really be revolutionary or not, or I'm just a cappotto on a hanger, okay? So Maurizio doing that is criticizing, is making fun of himself, basically, with this little doll representing himself super hyper realistic and this little doing like that. Look at his face with the big eye. How do you say something like that? Yeah, exactly. So he's making fun of himself and he's criticizing, let's say, an idea, a sort of a, let's be honest, very romantic, very early 20th century modernist approach to art that believes that art can change the world by itself. What social art can be really, can really change the world. Maurizio is not saying no, but is making a commentary about himself, using the symbol of other different moments in art history, the 60s, 70s with boys and the early 20th century with the Bauhaus, is creating a big metaphor about reflecting about this. And just another spoiler, we have this, for example, in the show. Another example of how this is Maurizio Cattelan, is a neon installation where he combined a symbol of Christmas together with a symbol of terroristic movement of the BR in Italy. Maurizio is someone that never makes you easy, to receive his work, but all the time, as just to mention to you, when, for example, when he did in Piazza Affari, and that is still there, he's part of the city in Milan, down in front of the stock exchange, in front of the Borsa in Milan, there is this finger pointing to the stock exchange, or where he dressed up, and around the city of New York, he was dressed up as Picasso, going around. Or, you know that Maurizio Cattelan, during the first 10 years of his career, never gave a lecture, okay, an artist talk or something like that. And most of the time, sent his most beloved, let's say, most common friend, the closest friend that was Massimiliano Gioni, a curator that was working with him, giving lecture on his behalf and presenting himself as Maurizio Cattelan. So people interviewing him like Maurizio Cattelan. There are TV interviews with Massimiliano Gioni saying, "Oh, I'm Maurizio Cattelan." It's not. When he received an honoris causa, they say laurea, no? Honoris causa laurea at university, he couldn't avoid anymore to send let's say a doppelganger or something like a replacement. He presented himself, but he pretended to have a car accident, so he was totally banded and covered, so he couldn't speak, Maurizio is this, but Maurizio is super funny and super dramatic at the same time. And what he did last year, for example, at Hangar Bicocca in Milan, where he created this huge monument that is, of course, reminding us of the 9/11 events, is something that in the show of Maurizio Cattelan is playing a double game with us, no? He's using so much something that is, here in our heart, in our mind also, but most of the time reflecting about probably about the question, can an artist like him talk about society? Yes. Can an artist totally dramatically change society? Probably not. Joseph Beuys and Bauhaus probably really strongly believed that their action could affect the world. Maurizio probably is saying to us that art has another, level to do that. Maybe is able to create this tumulto, no? This uncomfortable sometimes feeling that can change the world, but just as an ignition, like a scintilla, a sparkling moment at the beginning of a process where art can be just a start point of that. So yeah, that's all. I mean, I hope that I see you in Stratford.
Thank you so much, Riccardo. So that's the evening from ChatGPT to an urban plan and more sustainable Florence, to AI, to safety in the workplace, to thought-provoking art coming to Palazzo Strozzi. So hopefully this was a good glimpse of Florence, and thank you for coming.